Okay, so what I want to do really quickly is just walk through this Training Trainers and MII Coaching Requirements document. It's not a fun name, and I know that, but part of what we want to do is just establish some requirements and some things that we do across all of our MII coaching opportunities. So most of what's in this document is very similar to what we're doing around the rest of the world, whether it's in India, or some things that are in Central Asia or in Africa. We've got coaching components really all over the world at this point. And what we want is for all of those coaching and training trainers opportunities to look relatively the same. And so there's two videos that I'm going to walk through those requirements with you. And so this is just some initial requirements in terms of what the coaching itself should look like, what billing should look like, and all of that. Certainly open to questions at the end. And so if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, feel free to send me a message on monday.com or through email, and we can work through any of those concerns that you might have. So just to really quickly restate the purpose of this document is to communicate the minimum coaching standards for our Training Trainers program. Many ministries will have differences. They'll have a wide range of deliverables. But what we need to do is just to establish some baseline requirements, some things that each organization will meet with the help of our coaches across all of our coaching opportunities. So from a coaching perspective, we'll take an individualized approach with each ministry or project, and each of the components that are listed below will need to be in place for each of the ministries. So this is the commitment that we need to make sure that we're delivering on a monthly basis. So each organization that we work with is offered 2 hours of total monthly coaching. Now, a number of organizations will not use that amount, but we do want to make it available. So these are calls, these are text messages, these are emails. A total of 2 hours each month is made available to each ministry. Now, a maximum number of billable hours is 4 hours per month. We recognize that there's going to be some prep time, some communication, some things that you'll need to have prepared for each ministry or each coaching opportunity. But the maximum amount of time that we allow to be billed for each ministry is 4 hours per month. On a case-by-case basis, exceptions could be made, but you've got to be able to receive written approval from the project manager prior to being able to bill more than 4 hours of that per month. So that has to be done in advance. So again, some text, some email support will be provided in between calls. And then we want to ensure that each ministry is progressing and getting a customized approach. So that's a lot to do within 4 hours, but we're doing it really in all of the other areas around the world. We're meeting these standards and these deliverables. So then we have coaching goals, and these are in order of priority. The very first thing and the most important thing that we need to have is baseline metrics for each organization or ministry that we're working with. So those are KPIs that will be established both by the ministry that we're partnering with, but then also by MII. And so I know that we've got some standard KPIs that we want to make sure that we install within each ministry. That's totally fine. But it's also possible that they'll have some additional KPIs that they want to make sure that they look at. But we need baselines around all of that so that we can establish growth over time. The primary purpose of that is to make sure that we demonstrate through metrics quantitatively that as a result of working with MII, they've had additional kingdom impact that they would not have had otherwise. So that's the purpose for having a baseline in place. Additionally, a full digital strategy plan for each ministry. I'll put a link here in this document that will take you to a template for that. On top of that, this should be something that would be very familiar to them because most of these organizations have been through MII's training, one of MII's training events. But we've got a full digital strategy plan in place is one of the requirements. We need to help each ministry implement the strat plan and the campaign that it designed at our workshop. And so it's possible that through training trainers, will be working with organizations or ministry that have not been through a full training. That's okay. But they still need to have a strat plan and a campaign that they're working on in place. So then also we'll be setting a baseline early for each ministry's social media work. And we've got to be able to demonstrate value over the 6 months of working with this organization so that we can show growth. So then moving down to MII, to the core MII curriculum, these are items that each ministry must have an established competency in. So if we're working with organizations properly, if we've trained them properly, then they should be able to use all of these concepts in their social media strategies, persona, seeker journey, content that connects, follow-up, metrics that matter. Those are all things that each ministry should have kind of core competencies in as they look to do really effective ministry through social media. So if by some chance they don't have a competency in each one of these areas, then what we'll do as a coach, you can walk alongside, and let's say they don't fully understand persona. You can teach persona if that's required during your coaching time with them. Once it's clear that the core concepts have been established and that they're documented, then at that point, and we've got baselines and everything in place, then we can work with those organizations for additional opportunities and growth. So it might be Facebook page growth, it might be additional follow-up strategies, might be marketing campaigns or DBS, M2 DMM opportunities, maybe collaboration with other organizations. These are all things that we can work with an organization on once we have the basics in place. Then from a compensation standpoint, what we'll do is we'll pay the coaches under the following circumstances. So invoices must be submitted no later than the 5th of each month for the previous month's work. So if you want to get paid for January's work, then what you'll have to do is submit an invoice no later than the 5th of February. And then on top of that, invoices must be itemized by ministry with descriptions of the work done, just so that we know. So if you've worked with IBRA, or if you've worked with Paul's ministry, or if you've worked with KEC, or the community, what we need to make sure that on the invoice, you show exactly which organization you've worked with and what you've done. On top of that, coaching notes for each item on the invoice are required to be in Monday.com prior to payment of the invoice. So if we receive the invoice by the 5th of a given month, but the coaching notes are not in Monday.com, then we will not pay that invoice until they're in Monday.com. It's just important that as we work with these organizations, as we work with our donors, we just need to be able to have at our fingertips information about how each of these organizations are progressing, so that we can demonstrate that MII is adding value to each of these organizations at any given point. And on top of that, and we mentioned this earlier, but the maximum number of 4 hours spent per ministry unless approval was received by the project or program manager. So can't bill 6 hours for something that you didn't have written approval for in advance. So that is the document. I've got another video that we're going to make that walks through Monday.com like note-taking requirements, and I'll be posting that as well. But again, if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, anything like that, please feel free to email me or put a comment on this video in Monday.com, and we can work through any of those problems that you have. Appreciate each of you. Thank you for taking the time to walk through this document with me.